Yo, what is up guys? It's the Goblin and welcome back to another Fortnite Battle Royale tips and tricks video. In tonight's video, we are going to be talking specifically about 5 tips to get more solo wins in Fortnite Season 9 because this season, a lot of stuff has switched up. The whole meta, a bunch of new weapons are being introduced, weapons being balanced, and there was quite a bit of confusion around the meta, but I think it's sort of coming into its own as of right now. Gonna go through some tips that I've been implementing into my gameplay that have helped me do pretty well this season. I'm sitting at above a 40% win rate in solo so far, having a lot of fun this season, and I think these tips will help you guys be able to convert on more of your solo wins and do better in those solo games in Fortnite. Smash that like if you could. Let's go ahead and go for 820 likes. That would be absolutely incredible if you could do that. Also subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and hit that notification bell so you can get a chance to get first on all my future videos, and let's get right into it. Now, first off, you can see this guy, of course, I get big damage on him. He hits the rift, I chase him down, and I'm able to get that first kill. But these are 5 specific tips. We're not going to be talking directly about this gameplay. These are 5 tips I have written down in my notepad that we're going to be talking about. First one, create distance when the situation is too spicy. This is something that I can't stress enough. And what do I mean by when a situation is too spicy? Now, that is something you can decide based on your skill level. If you're a player that is newer, maybe you don't even want to deal with third parties. If you're someone that's really good, maybe you like dealing with third parties, but you can't take on fourth parties. Or maybe you don't want to fight in between 2 good builders. Creating distance is always a key when a situation gets too spicy. Now, there are 2 ways to create distance in Fortnite, either vertically or horizontally. Of course, vertically would be like in a 1v1. If you get damaged on by a player, immediately start building and secure 1x1 to the sky, and then pop your minis up there once you have the height advantage. Something like that would be creating vertical distance. Creating horizontal distance would be, I think you'll see me do it later in this game, where I get like 2 kills, and then there's 2 more enemies trying to build up and fight, and it's like 5 parties fighting out in one area, and I decide to just I got 2 kills and then I get out of there. When a situation is too intense like that, you have to be your own decider. How much do you want to stay in and get these kills, or how much does that risk your game, and is it worth it because you want to get that win in the end? Another situation is with your build fighting a player. If you're going straight to the sky, you have to watch out. You're wasting all your mats. You might be going too high up. You might be getting shot down. There might be a player in the hamster ball running around or flying around the hamster ball trying to knock you down. So whenever situations are too spicy, you have to understand the risk reward of those situations. And I'm all for going for kills, taking fights. Even third parties are awesome. But when you're in a tough spot where it's like, okay, I have a 30% chance of dying here, usually it's better to create distance. And then once you've created that distance, you can decide whether to re-engage and shoot them from a distance with a scar, or whether to just get out of there and go farm up or do whatever you have to do to have that position late game. Next tip, number 2, is late game player tracking. Now, this one is tough because sometimes you don't know. There's some players late game who just don't really build up, and they move in sort of with the zone, move in, hide in a bush, or might hide in behind a tree and sort of move in like it's PUBG or a Call of Duty Blackout game. There's a few players that do that, and it's kind of hard to track those players. But with late game player tracking is more important than ever, and this comes down to probably when you're in like the top 10, or even more importantly, top 5, top 7. You want to know where every single player is, especially top 5, top 4, top 3. You need to know where every single one of those players are, so that you don't get stuck in the middle with 2 players spraying at you. We've all seen it late game. We've all been on both ends of it, either spraying at the same player that another player is spraying at, or we're getting sprayed at from multiple angles. It's a terrible position to be in, and player tracking, making sure you know, okay, this guy has built up his 1x1 over here, this guy has his 1x1 over here, so I don't want to go down the middle because then I'd be in the middle of them. I'm going to sneak around the side, or I'm going to challenge one player here. It's super duper key. Don't be stuck in the middle. Don't be sandwiched in the late game, and that's one thing that it'll happen sometimes, and it's just unfortunate, but you need to do your best to track players, especially in this current meta, because when multiple people are spraying at you in Season 9, you can get into a really, really troubling position. Next is going to be my 3rd tip, cautious peeks for late game, making sure your sides are covered, and jumping up and down while spraying, crouch spamming, etc. Now, a lot of people don't like to do that because that makes your bullets less accurate, which is completely true. If you want to be the most accurate, you want to be standing still, crouching, and shooting your weapon like that. But what I mean by this is cautious late game peeks. Now, there's always people, especially if you're in a tall 1x1, there's always people lurking around ready to snipe you, ready to get damage into you with the boom bow, with all these weapons that are really easy to use for people like if you're hard scoping. If I'm just waiting with a heavy sniper, it's pretty easy to use if I peek my head and I'm shooting at someone else. else, you know? Same thing with the boom bow. Of course, boom bow is much, much easier to aim with and hit people with than a sniper. Cautious peeks late game are very, very key. Something like I'm doing here, you can see when I'm tucked into my base, I'm down low, so I can't get sniped at from other angles while I'm trying to spray this guy out of the sky, which isn't working out too well, but you can basically see my idea there. When you are peeking, you want to try to cover your sides, or at least be smart and peek for just a short period of time. Look back, look around, keep track of all of your surroundings. That's something I'm trying to do. You can see me doing it literally in this gameplay right now as I'm actually talking about it, so it's lining up pretty perfectly. Cautious peeks late game, and what I mean by jumping up and down and spraying or crouch spamming is when you want to when you have a zone advantage on a player and a player is just trying to maybe build up, or they might be looking at you, you don't want to give them that angle. Jumping up and down and just holding down that button on your AR, still, if you're just trying to hit their walls or their builds, you don't have to have perfect accuracy. So in that situation, it doesn't really matter. When you're trying to go for, you have that angle to go for the kill, that's when it's important to try to stay steady, but you don't want to stay exposed for too long. You want to see, like right here, I have my two other sides covered, so I can't be shot at here. I'm tucked in. I'm just making sure that it's the toughest angle for me to get shot at, and then I'm making my plan towards the next rotation. Coming at tip number 4 for this season, and this is one of the biggest tips, so listen closely. Understand your shotgun and use it that way. Now, everyone's going to say, I like the tac, I like the combat, I like the tac, I like the combat. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you like better, tac or combat? Me personally, I think I'm fairly good with both of them, and I'll take each of them, whatever's available. So if there's blue tac, I'll gladly take that. If there's a gold combat, I'll gladly take that, you know? But you have to. This is the number 1 key. I would say probably, maybe not the number 1 key, but a top 5, top 3 key for this season. And number 1 key for shotgun fights this season. Understand your shotgun and use it that way. And it's as simple as the tac is up close. The tac is an absolute machine. Up close, though. And up close is like a 1x1 or 2 1x1s distance away. Now, you can still poke enemies with the tac at distance, and it can do good damage. But understand, the tac, close range. If you have a tac, be thinking in your head when you're going into battles, I need to get this player close range. And if you have a combat shotgun, be thinking that you don't need to get them close range. The strength of the combat is its ability to fire fairly quickly and at long ranges. So if you're in a build fight and you just have like an angle on them, boop, you pop them with the combat. Understand, don't be afraid to shoot that one at range, but with the tac, do not try to go into a fight with against another player, because a lot of the times, if you go into a fight with the tac, they have the combat. If you're at any sort of distance, you're going to lose that, even if they had the blue combat and you had the blue tac, which of course the blue tac is better just because of that distance. Now, play to your strength and understand the weapon. Coming in at tip number 5 is the spray meta. Now, it isn't as bad as season 5, but there is sort of a spray meta right now, and the tip here I want to talk about is how to counter that and how to use that to your advantage. Now, the first thing to counter it is just understand, when people are spraying at you with the drum gun, it does feel like it's forever. 50 bullets does feel like forever, but hold your ground, turbo build, hold those walls, and just wait. It can only last so long. The damage that they're doing, or not even damage, it's mostly just going to be, you want them to do no damage. You want them to be hitting your walls, but 50 rounds, it seems like forever, but it isn't actually that long. You can wait it out, and then of course, once they go for the reload, that's when you have your time to build, create distance, and get out of there. That's how you counter the spray meta, is holding your ground as much as you can and waiting for them to run out of ammo to have to go for that reload. On the other hand, how can you use, if you have a drum gun, or the drum gun's probably the number 1 spraying weapon, but there's so many different weapons. That's why I think season 9 is kind of, it's an interesting meta. It's not like season 5 at all. I think it's a decent meta that we're in right now, but you have to understand, people are going to spray, and on the other hand of that, you can use the drum gun. If you're playing against players that are, I mean, we're in season 9, the average player is a way better builder than they used to be back in season 2 or 3, right? The average builder back then would build a ramp and a wall and start, you know, the battle. Now you're going into build battles with almost every player, or like a lot of players in the game, right? So the thing with that is, you want to be smart, and against those players that just keep spam building, when you have them weak, if you have a drum gun or you have an SMG, don't be afraid to use that and just spray with that thing to do big damage. You can see right here, I'm trying to track the players, but there is something where it's kind of unfortunate. I just land, and there was one of those guys moving in slowly with the zone, so I tracked him, and now I realized I'm kind of in a tough spot, but I'm thinking, and I know that I have zone advantage, and that's why I'm able to use that. This is the second gameplay, by the way. I'm running up here. This guy's right here, so you can see here in this gameplay, right? I didn't really have the perfect angle. I didn't have the perfect positioning where the zone pushed me. And the reasoning because of that is because I didn't have enough builds. If I had more builds, I would have just gone super duper high ground and played it with my glider for an easy win. But I had to play to my environment, and I was still able to convert and get that win. So hopefully these 5 tips did help you guys out. Like I said, I think these are really important for season 9, and they are tips that, you know, of course, practice your building, practice your aim. But if you implement these in the decision-making tips and understanding the game, can really make such a huge difference. Smack that like, subscribe if you guys are new. I'll catch you on the next one, and I'm out. Peace.